This is the Applied Skills video for Module 12, continuing on our Applied Skills topic for last week on evolving needs and skills becoming services. As we discussed last week, the project process and how we work is ever evolving, particularly as new needs and new skills are identified, and those become new services that we as architects are able to offer. This week, we're going to build on that and relate it back to our topical knowledge subject for this week, which is project management. As mentioned in the topical knowledge video for this week, the project manager is the leader in ensuring that our services are being delivered effectively and efficiently, and to align those services with the compensation required to make a project, and therefore a firm, profitable as a business. When a project is well defined at the very beginning and follows a well-known process and familiar deliverables, this can be tricky enough to achieve, as even the most traditional projects can have unexpected circumstances or conditions arise, complicating the process. This task can become even more difficult to do as we begin to deliver our services in unfamiliar ways or offer new services for even which internally we might not yet fully understand the time requirements and expenses associated with doing so. Therefore, as we're developing new services, it's important to deeply consider not only their impact on the intended project outcome, but also the details of how they fit into our firm's project process and the amount of time required to complete them successfully. Whether they fit effectively into our project timeline is also critical to planning successfully for the project. For instance, if your new service includes the idea of short-term installations to assess particular design ideas before they're permanently implemented through the final design and construction, your project process needs to reflect the likely significant impacts to the schedule in order for those short-term installations to be designed, installed, utilized, evaluated, and ultimately incorporated into the final design should they be successful, in order for that service to be truly influential to the project process. If that happens too early or too late, it could have not the intended outcome that you're hoping to achieve with that goal. So knowing where it fits and the amount of time it's adding to fit in are both important to managing that successfully as a new service. As another example, your evolving service might have to do with your firm's involvement or assistance with raising funds for the projects to actually be implemented or constructed. So some firms dabble in this already by providing important renderings or other visuals that help sell the project to potential donors, typically early on in the process. Other more progressive firms that are leading in this area might actually support their clients in applying for funding through methods like grants or loans or other things that are out there available. The important aspect to address here is that this typically means that you've started some sort of planning or early conceptual design work for the project that might be then put on hold for a significant amount of time while that funding is secured and the project can move forward. It also means that the intended budget for the built work might change between those initial project conceptions and when the design is completed and construction actually begins, since they're still working on securing the funding in this scenario. So what does this mean for the project manager? It means that it's important to consider what the architectural team's role looks like during these significant additions to calendar time on the project. We often find that the longer a project is in process, whether there is added scope to our services or not, that we end up burning more hours on the project. So during these significant additions of time, if not managed successfully, there's a potential for the team to continue to burn hours without really moving forward the most significant project tasks. This can occur because of available staffing hours that the team had and decided to work on some aspect of the project, additional project meetings to touch base, to touch in with the team during these long wait periods, or through occasional requests from the owner that might come up during these times. To present at presentations for donors or to make some slight changes based on a change in thinking, to name a few ways that we might burn hours on a project without moving forward the most important tasks that still need to be completed. So as we discussed last week, as our method for project work evolves, so must our management of our services. We touched briefly on how the framework that we operate within as a profession. So our legal documents, our licensure, our liability must also evolve with the profession, and that we often see a lag in its ability to do so. So the examples I provided here are just small changes to a typical project process that might have huge consequences if not managed appropriately. So as we continue to expand our service offerings even further beyond the traditional architecture for services, the need for the framework to evolve becomes even more evident and even more challenging, and even more critical to making sure that our projects continue to be successful.